Well, thank you so much for the introduction and also for the invitation. And yeah, as we heard so much input until now, and then we are at the very end of the conference, and we heard so many interesting and important details and data. So it pretty much shows how diverse and interesting. So anyways, sorry for the delay, and now we start with our presentation. And before we start with the input, I would like to present our team and to give you a little overview about the ongoing research from our empirical studies. We are from Germany, from the DIPF, Leibnitz Institute for Research and Information in Education in Frankfurt, and our research team, Fenke, Kachisi, Jelena, Zaric, and myself. Here, some pictures from us. We would like to tell you today a little bit about our research, about our focus of literacy research, or more or less, especially the cognitive reading development, with focus on struggling readers and also influencing factors on reading intervention. So we have been preparing a talk with 3 spotlights for you today. So we will talk about first about cognitive processing, and especially processing which is necessary for sufficient reading performance, with a focus on the orthographic knowledge, which will be presented by Jelena, followed by analysis of a reading strategy, behavior of reading of children with reading difficulties. And here we especially present data with a person-centered approach. Fenke will talk about this in the following, and I will finish the talk today with closing the circle, and also talk about motivational factors of reading performance, and present some preliminary data of our research. So I will give the stage to Jelena first, who will present the orthographic knowledge in the reading process.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. I would like to talk about orthographic knowledge a bit more. And I'm sorry, I have to switch between my screens so I can see my notes. Orthographic knowledge is divided into 2 components. We have on the one hand word-specific knowledge, which is the knowledge about the specific spelling of specific words. On the other hand, we have general orthographic knowledge, which is the knowledge about the legal letter patterns. Most frequently examined aspects of these 2, of the general orthographic knowledge, is the position of the double consonants. For example, we don't have any double consonants in German starting on the beginning of a word. And one other frequently examined aspect is the frequency of the double consonants. For example, in German, the double M okay, I'm a bit confused. Sorry for this pause.
Don't worry, Jelena. Don't worry. We
Okay, so we don't have any the double consonants in German differ from other double consonants in their frequency. For example, double M is more frequently occurring than double K. So reading is a complex process, as we all know. On the basic level, it includes reading of single words. Here I have an example of the word necessary. If this word is unfamiliar, a child or a reader would use the indirect access to the phoneme sequence in order to identify the word. For this, indirect access phonological awareness plays an important role. However, using this indirect access results in a more slower reading pace, and therefore it can lead to reading difficulties. When a word is familiar, you can use the direct access in order to identify the word. Hereby, naming speed enables the efficient and quick retrieval of the mental lexicon. However, this direct access is only possible to use if orthographic representations of the words are stored in the mental lexicon, for which orthographic knowledge is responsible for. Reading does not include only reading of single words, but also includes, well, the words need to be put in a sentence. We often read sentences, and these words need to be read quickly and efficiently as possible in order to understand the content of the sentence. Single sentences also do not appear often on their own, but rather in a text passage. So the single words also need to be read in quickly and efficiently as possible in order to understand this text passage. So the role of orthographic knowledge was based or was mostly examined on the basic level, including word reading and word comprehension. However, the relationship between orthographic knowledge and reading comprehension is a core of the scarcely the object of research. It is assumed that word-specific and general orthographic knowledge support efficient word reading and enable, therefore, resources or free up resources which can be used for reading comprehension. To my knowledge, there are only a few studies which examine the relationship between orthographic knowledge and higher level reading processes. Isa et al., for example, they examined general orthographic knowledge, but they didn't find it significant to be a significant predictor. Richter et al. Also examined the word-specific orthographic knowledge, and they could find that it is a significant predictor. However, the role of orthographic knowledge in higher level reading processes is still not clear, especially not in poor readers. So this leads to my research question: does orthographic knowledge explain reading variance on basic and also on higher level reading processes in children without and with reading difficulties? In order to answer this research question, in our first study, we analyzed data from 66 German-speaking children without reading difficulties. And I'm just gonna go right to the results, which are here. So the regression analysis have shown that word-specific and general orthographic knowledge explain additional variance in reading on basic level. And a similar result pattern was also found for sentence reading and also for text reading. However, as I said, we only examined children without reading difficulties, and for us it was also interesting to see whether these results differ in children with reading difficulties. So that was the goal or the goal of our second study, where we examined 103 German-speaking children with reading difficulties. And here we found some, well, on the first side, similar results, but they also differ. On the basic level, word-specific and general orthographic knowledge were also found to be significant predictors. On the sentence level, word-specific and general orthographic knowledge were also significant predictors. However, on the text level, we couldn't find any significant additional variance explained by word-specific and orthographic and general orthographic knowledge. Hereby, only phonological awareness was found to be a significant predictor. So, in summary, these results support previous results and extend also the role of orthographic knowledge also for higher level reading processes. And As I said, word specific and general orthographic knowledge are assumed to support single word reading and also free up cognitive resources which are used or can be used for reading comprehension. Differences in children with and without reading difficulties regarding the influence of orthographic knowledge on text-level reading can be explained that for these children, phonological processes seem to be more important than in children without reading difficulties. And that's it from me. So I will give the stage to Fenke.
Yeah, hello, everybody. I will continue to give you a short overview of our latest research regarding reading strategies, as Telse said in the beginning. And first, I'm sorry, now. First, I want to show you what I mean when I'm saying reading strategies. Strategies can be characterized as variously efficient and reasonable means that lead to the same outcome. And according to Ziegler, children use different strategies when solving tasks. Different children use different strategies, but also one child uses different strategies at different tasks or at different time points in one task. And for word reading, several strategies have been identified in the German language, including letter reading and syllable reading, which can be classified as decoding strategies, and also partial and whole word retrieval, which belong to the retrieval strategies. And this classification matches the assumptions of the dual root model, which Jelena also showed you in the slides before, where a word like, for example, sandstorm is accessed via the indirect route, that is via the phoneme sequence, if it cannot be recognized directly. This is the case for example, unusual or also unknown words. When reading with letters, the individual letters are strung together one after the other. And when reading with syllables, then children already go one step further and string syllables together, which means that they already process small units of letters at once. And if a word can be recognized in parts or as a whole, then direct access to the word meaning takes place, which corresponds to the strategies of partial and whole word retrieval. In order to assess reading strategies when reading words, we developed a task to code the reading strategies used by the children. And children were presented with 26 words, one after the other, that they must read aloud. And the word material consisted of 4-syllable frequent and less frequent nouns. Here you can see the sequence of the task. First, a word is presented alone, which is to be read aloud immediately. So the children were not allowed to read the words in their head or in their mind first. They had to read it aloud really immediately. And after the word is read aloud, then reading comprehension is tested using 4 pictures, one of which represents the target word and the others are content or phonetic distractors. And the child's answers were recorded by video camera, and the strategies were coded afterwards by 2 independent coders in order to obtain the best possible objectivity of the ratings. Because the goal of our work is often to help children with difficulties in the reading process, I would like to show you how reading difficulties and reading strategies are related to each other. So children with reading difficulties in transparent languages mainly show problems in reading fluency, which further complicates reading comprehension. Important for a sufficiently high reading fluency to understand also the content of a sentence or a text and not only the words is the automatization of the reading process. That means that retrieval strategies are really important to understand the meaning of a text, which should be the ultimate goal of the reading process. And we could already show that children with stronger reading difficulties tend to use more letter reading, while children with less strong reading difficulties already used more partial and whole word retrieval when reading words. But we were especially interested in a person-centered approach, where we could find groups of children using the reading strategies in a similar way, so that we could identify children's strategy usage profile and possibly determine which factors influence strategy usage and the profile membership. That's why we did a latent profile analysis. And this analysis we conducted revealed 3 distinct strategy profiles that differ in the usage of reading strategies. And we named them the phonological profile, the transition profile, and the lexical profile. So I will explain them. Children in the phonological profile, that's the continuous line, they use mostly syllable reading, some partial retrieval, and almost none whole word retrieval. Sorry. Children in the transition profile, that's the dashed line in the middle, they also use mostly syllable reading, but to a lesser extent than the phonological profile, and they use a lot of partial retrieval and a bit more whole word retrieval than the phonological profile. And the children in the lexical profile, finally, that's the dotted line, they use more partial and whole word retrieval than syllable reading, which makes this group the most efficient group. Furthermore, we wanted to look at whether there were variables that could explain the membership of the found profiles. And we looked at this relationship with orthographic knowledge and naming speed as precursor skills to reading. And we were able to show that both variables were related to the profile membership. Ultimately, of course, we were interested in whether profile membership could explain subsequent reading performance. And it turned out that profile membership showed a significant correlation with reading performance at the word level measured 6 months later, in addition to the precursor skills, orthographic knowledge, and rapid automatist naming. So this can be taken as an indication that improving reading strategy usage can also lead to improved reading performance. So promoting reading strategies could be a possible research approach to pursue in the future. So yes, that was a very brief overview of our research to strategies, and I would love to tell you more about it. But yeah, just having the time in mind, I'm happy to pass on to Dr.Nagler.
Thank you. And I will finish our presentation with a few more preliminary data regarding motivational factors of reading performance. And here I will give you a short overview, although I think we already heard quite a bit about reading motivation already in the beginning. But just to give you a little summary and to get some of the information back into your minds, we all know that reading motivation plays an important role in reading achievement, and lots of research already presented, and also in the past, for example, conducted in the Western Galilee College, shows that children can already evaluate their reading performance in early stages of their reading acquisition. So we see that students who find reading challenging, for example, often try to avoid reading activities, as already mentioned earlier, and that we also see a decline in reading motivation for low reading achievers already in 2nd grade. So we have a quite disturbing picture when we think about reading motivation as a really important factor for reading achievement. And this is also one reason why we want to engage in further reading motivation research as well. So we also focus on the intrinsic reading motivation. Here also research suggests that poor readers show lower intrinsic reading motivation than typical readers. And what we can also see is that a positive change in self-concept can also improve reading skills. So with the project Motivo, that's how we call it, motivation in different orthographies, we aim at investigating reading motivation for German 2nd graders. And this is also preliminary data, as I already mentioned, in a mutual collaboration project with the Western Galilee College and Nat in particular. So you already heard about the Me and My Reading Profile tool, which is also the tool we used in our research. We translated it into German. Here you see a little example how we translated the questionnaire into German, and this questionnaire has different scales, especially the reading self-concept, value of reading, and literacy out loud, which is here integrated into different questions. And we translated the questionnaire into German and presented it to German second graders. So what we found, and here, as I said, the preliminary data was that we did find a relationship between reading motivation and reading comprehension, also on different reading levels, as measured by a standardized reading test. So we found that value of reading and reading self-concept was associated with reading comprehension on word, sentence, and text level. So we did find a significant impact of those scales. However, the value of reading was unexpectedly in a different direction than we thought. And also interesting was that literacy out loud did not have a significant relation for reading comprehension. And what we also looked at was pseudo-word and word reading performance. And also here we found significant relation between word and pseudo-word reading in aspects of value of reading and self-concept. However, also here the literacy out loud scale did not correlate with pseudo-word reading. However, with word reading, it did correlate. So we did find a few first aspects of reading motivation, how it affects reading comprehension. And we also looked at a few more variables, especially on phonological awareness and gender, which we analyzed and found that phonological awareness did not affect the motivation score. So the overall reading motivation was not correlated with phonological awareness. And we also did not find any gender differences. So boys and girls did not differ overall in their reading motivation. However, we did find that girls showed a tendency for higher scores in value of reading than boys. So we did find few gender differences in the between boys and girls, but this is just the first impression we have out of our data, and we are definitely going ahead and want to do further analysis and also further data collection to get a better view, idea about how reading motivation also impacts reading performance on different levels, so poor and normal readers, and also across orthographies in time. And this is also leading us to our research goals. I will.
Sorry, Telse, just 1 minute, please.
This is the last slide, so we are almost in time. To give you just a short summary, we definitely, and not surprisingly, can say that cognitive processing, reading strategies, and reading motivation do have an impact on reading performance and also on intra-individual and intra-individual differences. So here we find that orthographic knowledge as well as reading strategy usage is important for reading performance, and also to understand how reading works on different levels and also for different profiles, for different individuals. And we did find first insights about reading motivation, that it is related to reading comprehension on different reading levels, which also leads us to our future research goals and research questions that we definitely want to go ahead and find out more about the orthographic knowledge, how it can be trained in order to facilitate reading comprehension, and also how reading strategies can be effectively promoted. For example, finding out what external factors influence strategy usage, and also, and here I will close and have maybe the circle to the beginning, that we also are interested in differences in reading motivation between orthographies, especially with different depth, transparent and intransparent orthographies, and also across different grades and different competency levels. So thank you for your attention, and I hope there's a little bit time for questions.